This is Tuesday, November 8th. This is a regular city council meeting of the Wilson City Council. It's on my phone.
I'm working on it. Someone turned them all down.
And I appreciate you, those of you who got the time right and wrong. I know we had some people who showed up at 6 o'clock. We do appreciate you hanging in there with us. The reason we started at 7 tonight is because of the polls. They asked us to not start our meeting till the polls were closed. We do welcome you. We appreciate you sticking with us. And at this time, we will have the roll call by the city clerk.
Good evening. Mayor Goodman.
It's already starting to get bad.
I'm here.
Council President Jones.
Here.
Vice President Robinson.
Here.
Councilmember Cox.
Here.
Councilmember Bullock.
Here.
Councilmember Ross.
Present.
City Manager Terry Bovard.
Here.
City Attorney Scott Walker is absent. Attorney Kirsten Ballou.
Here.
City Clerk Latricia Wright. I am here. And all other staff.
Here. Here.
Thank you all. If you will, stand at this time for the opening prayer and the pledge of allegiance by the mayor.
Join me if you choose. Lord, we come to you tonight as a community gathering together to try to do the business of our city. Lord, I just ask that you be with each and every person that is possibly in the path of this oncoming storm, that you protect all of them and you give them your grace and your protection. And Lord, tonight I would like to ask a special prayer for the police officers and the firemen and the other first responders who are out there serving us on a daily basis, at times even risking their lives. Lord, I just ask you to place a hedge of protection around them and to give them the knowledge on how to handle each situation. And Lord, I ask you to be with each member of this council and all of the city staff and to give them a heart for the community and a heart to do what they feel is the best thing. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first item is additions, deletions, and changes or approval of the agenda. Anyone have anything to add or change? Yes, sir.
So if you look at the agenda or resolution B, 22 or section B 22-89, a resolution to the City Council, City of Wilson, Florida, establishing authorization for the City Council President for signing of a contract with Everest Incorporated for some work. We're going to table that or pull it or however you want to do it. It's not ready at this point for discussion.
Okay. We'll table it with approval from this body.
What is the number of that one?
B is the actual number, Mr. Ross.
It is 6B. 6B on page 2. Okay, any other changes? All right, I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda with that change.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2 is the Mayor's Student of the Month, and we will turn it over to the Mayor.
Thank you, President Jones. So each member of the council feels very honored for this particular thing that we get the pleasure of doing. and that is to recognize the young people in our community. The first person I would like to call is my friend, Corey. Corey, would you join me up here? Corey was nominated by Mrs. Edwards and Mrs. Nelson, who made the following comments. Corey is 5 years old. And is a kindergartner student at JBES, Joyce Bullock Elementary School, in Miss Edwards and Mrs. Nelson's class. And this is what they had to say about you, Corey. Corey is diligent, kind, inquisitive. She always comes to school with a positive attitude, accompanied by a smile, which I have witnessed tonight. With such a willingness to help others, she is well-mannered, respectful, and driven to do her best, and she sets a great example for other students. She is such a bright light and a blessing to both her teachers and to all of those around her. Wow, that's quite a nice thing that they said about you. Did you know that they were going to say all those things? Did you tell them what to say? Oh. Well, Corey, we have an outstanding student award that we're going to give you. And here it is. It's an award for certificate for academic excellence, leadership, citizenship, and attendance at Joyce Bullock. Okay? Stay with me, okay? Okay. Because I also have your very own pizza, which was donated by Domino's Pizza to share with whoever you choose to. And from what I read, you're probably going to share it with somebody. And as the mayor, I would like to give you this symbol of our city, which was founded in 1897, a couple of years before Councilor Ross and I were born. Okay? Stay right here. I'm watching. Okay. John Kopecki. My goodness, what a fine-looking young man you are, John.
I'm 14.
Cool. Say it again.
I'm 14.
You're 14. Okay. Okay. John, you were nominated by a whole bunch of people. Were you aware of that? You got more people nominating you than I even know. By Gamble, Yancey, Watts, Geiger, and Kalishman. Am I saying that right? Kalishman? Kalishman? Well, he knows you. And they all made some very nice comments about you, John. It says that John is an awesome student. He works hard, and he's never afraid to ask questions. We all could learn from you. Gamble said John is a fantastic artist and very helpful in class. He's eager to learn. We're currently working on constructive critique of our own and others' work, and John has a critical eye on it. John, I can't draw a straight line without a ruler. And you're a pretty good artist. Do you enjoy drawing? Not much. You're just good at it without enjoying it? Well, good for you. Yancey says John is very bright and a pleasure to have in class. He always follows direction and he works hard on the task he is assigned. I think John would be a great representative for our school. That's quite a compliment.
Yeah.
doesn't say who these people are, and I just got a last name, so that's all I can say. So I can't say if it's Mr. or Mrs. Okay. Watts says he's a great kid. Now that's my kind of talk. He's a great kid. He is so focused. Right to the point. And Geiger, which I want to say Mrs. Geiger. Okay. She had you last year. You remember Miss Geiger from last year?
I think so.
Okay. He was truly a joy. He was focused and very organized. John was also great at completing his bell work and always had insightful things to share. Those are some very nice things Ms. Geiger said about you. Kalishman, John is very focused and always pushes his head to the front of the line to ask for help, and he does excellent work. You know, the only line I push myself to the head of is the food line.
He does that sometimes too.
You have your own? Okay. Well, John, we have, and this council, I am representing them, we have an outstanding student award that we would like to present to you, okay? And it is awarded for academic excellence, leadership, citizenship, and attendance at Williston Middle High School.
Okay.
Okay? Now, John, do you eat pizza?
No.
You don't eat pizza?
Not in the way.
Does anyone in your family eat pizza?
Yeah.
Because if not, you can give it to me.
Yeah, you can have it.
No. No, John, I'm not allowed to take it. It's illegal. You don't I don't want to go to jail.
Oh my God.
Okay, stay right here. Come right here with
Because
me.
things are happening. Get arrested just because of pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too good. John, I would like to present you with this button. It's a representative of our city. It is for you to wear on your shirt, similar to this one, just to remember our city and these fine people that want to honor you. Okay?
Okay.
Now, would anybody like to take a picture of these children?
Yes.
Come right here with me, Corey, and stand right here, right here.
John, look at me.
Don said there's cameras everywhere.
I think she's all right. Is Corey seeable? All you cameras out there? We're going to grow up really fast, Corey. Thank you, Terry. Let's give him a laugh. All right. You're welcome, sweetheart. And I just want to be sure that I haven't made a mistake. Kendall Hill is not in here tonight, correct? Nobody wants to claim their Kendall Hill tonight, right? Okay.
Thank you. If you want to escape, this is your time to escape before we move on with the rest of our meeting. Thank y'all for coming.
Does that mean all of us?
No, the rest of you cannot leave. All right, item number 3 is public participation. This is your first opportunity of the evening to speak to something that is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we ask you wait till we get there. But if you have something else you'd like to address tonight, you have 5 minutes to do that at this point. There is one other opportunity at the end of the meeting. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at this time? Anybody online, Mr. Mills, that would like to speak?
Anyone on the meeting, Ring Central meeting, wish to speak up?
All right, then we're going to move to item number 4, which is our consent agenda, which consists of the council meeting minutes of October the 18th. The only thing I have to comment on the minutes, in some places it says there were 3 people who voted unanimously, and in another place it said there were 4 people who voted unanimously. So we need to get it, I think it's really 4.
No, it was 3.
It's
That
3.
was during the time, Mr. Ross had left out of the.
Right, Mr. Ross left out.
Okay, so you
Council
just,
meeting.
I think that needs a little more explanation somewhere. Maybe we should say that he wasn't in the room or something,
Okay.
because it looks like an error.
Okay.
Because I looked to see if it was more than one person that was absent, and there was only one. So maybe a little explanation on that, that he wasn't in the room. I appreciate that. Okay, so we have a consent agenda for approval as it stands. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5A is staff, board, and council updates, and we will begin with City Manager Terry Bavard.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'll hold all my updates for the work as we move through it, which will represent most of our updates for the week that we've been out of council. I will tell you that tomorrow, as most of you know, we will be having a staff meeting at 10 o'clock to discuss the tropical storm, its impact on our area, and its impact on our Veterans Day activities. So, as y'all know, you're more welcome to attend.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. Any other staff at this time who have something to add at this point? Seeing shaking heads. Okay, are there any council members who have updates at this time that they would like to add? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move to item number 6, which is new business. We will open a public hearing for the first reading of ordinance 2022-704, an ordinance to be known as the City of Williston's Water and Sewer System Capacity Fee Ordinance, providing definitions, rules of construction, providing findings, providing imposition of water and sewer capacity fees, providing for payment and use of monies, providing for exemptions, providing for collection of capacity fees upon changes in size and use, providing for developer contribution credit, providing for payment, and providing for review hearings, requiring periodic review, declaring exclusion from Administrative Procedures Act, provided for public hearing, providing for conflicts and severability, providing for an effective date. Mr. Picard.
Thank you, Madam President. So as you know, this is the capacity fee ordinance we're looking at for the potential for building critical infrastructure as far as sewer and water goes. As you know, Florida Rural Water Association, which we're a member of, we had a study done. Ms. Catherine Van Zandt is here tonight, and she has a presentation for you that I'll let her walk you through it, and then we can entertain any questions that you might have as we go. Ms. Van Zandt?
Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me tonight. As you know, providing drinking water and treated sewage is a basic responsibility that you have, a very critical responsibility. It's the life and the health of the people here. And when you add to that, it's also not news to you that Florida keeps growing, and the areas west of Gainesville and coming down into this area seem to keep booming. So in light of all that, your staff requested that Florida Rural Water Association do an evaluation of the financial side of being able to provide water and wastewater to new residents moving into the city. As an aside on that, in the capacity fee evaluations that we've done for communities all over the state, I have honestly never had a staff that worked so thoroughly and so quickly to pull together the information. You have some gems. And with that, your engineers ratepayers did an excellent job of pulling together all the information that was needed for this. So
That's wonderful to hear.
I'm giving you kudos
Appreciate that.
on
Yes.
that. Florida Rural Water Association is a nonprofit professional association that assists water and wastewater systems in every phase of operation. It's a wonderful resource to be able to have. They provide a multitude of services at very low cost, often free to the utilities. They also specialize in water and wastewater rates and financing, serve well over 1,400 cities. They've completed, at this point, well over 1,000 financing and rate studies. Never had a legal challenge on any of them. And the studies, they also do rate studies. They do these capacity fee studies. They have a strong legal footing. They're based on the Florida statutes. So this is what's come in to provide. And I'm an engineer that does work for Florida Rural Water Association. You have 4 areas of revenue for your utilities, your rates. We're all very familiar with those because we get a bill every month. Capacity fees that I'm going to go into more description of with you here. Connection charges, those are the basic fees that pay for the equipment and the staff to go out and just do the connection for folks. And then you have other fees, late charges, turn-offs and ons, and miscellaneous fees that are charged. So we'll talk about the capacity fees here. It's a one-time charge to reimburse the system for the capital costs that are needed to provide the capacity. When somebody new comes online, a new home, a new development, and they say, okay, we're going to need this much water, we're going to need this much wastewater treatment, it's impossible for you to provide it like that. It takes many years to do the design, the studies, to get the money, and construct what's needed for the capacities. And so it's something that the city has had to provide and be prepared for well ahead of time. You have kept extra capacity in your system for new users to be able to come on board. Capacity fees are fixed costs. It's not ongoing operator costs. It's costs for the infrastructure, for the wells, for the treatment plants, for the pipes. It's not for operations. So with the capacity fees, growth pays for growth. Your existing ratepayers have been supporting your system all along, paying for what's been needed and also for what's needed to be able to prepare for the capacities. The capacity fees, the idea of the capacity fees is to provide for the new customers that are coming on to be able to pay for the capacity that they're coming in and needing within your utility system. So you can think of it as an analogy of a bus. You already have the seats on the bus. There's a limited number of seats on the bus. There's an amount of water that you can provide. And some of those seats have been being used by your ratepayers, but there's extra seats that have been left, that have been provided for new people to be able to come on. So the rates pay for the operation, with the bus, the gas, the tires, the driver, and then the capacity fees pay for the new passengers, for their own seat, so that you have a just ability to provide for them. So the objectives of the capacity fees are that the new development coming on pays its own way. It funds major expansions that are needed as you have to provide for new users coming in. They help to minimize the debt that you have to incur to be able to provide for the additional users, and then also it helps the city to maintain the retained earnings at an appropriate level so that you're not using up your retained earnings and your cash reserves. But it's a legitimate question, do we really need to add one more fee? Especially in this time right now. I'm sure you all are like me. I go to the grocery store and I walk up to the meat counter and I think, not this week. Everybody's tightening their belt right now, and we're talking about one more fee for people. So this is, has to deal with, a way to deal with growth and what is a natural decay of your infrastructure. Florida statutes require that communities anticipate what's going to be happening in the future. When you get permits for your wastewater treatment plant, for your water treatment plant, when you get your consumptive use permits with the Water Management District, you have to show what is your growth going to be happening and how are you going to be able to provide for that. And you have to demonstrate that you're going to be able to provide for that. You all have been very forward-thinking with the master planning that you've been doing recently. That's exactly what you're doing. You're preparing for where are we going and how are we going to be able to provide for that. It's not common that communities do that, but when you do that, you are being good stewards of the money that the folks in your community are providing. It takes many years to build capacity in, and so it takes forethought to be able to be prepared for new users to come on board. On top of that, the utilities have to be kept in good operating condition. You can imagine wastewater wears down pumps, wears down your treatment plant. And so there's continual repair and replacement that's needed on your utilities. So how are the capacity fees determined? There's an option. You can just see what the different communities around you are charging for capacity fees and take an average of it and use that. And I have known people to do that. It's a disservice. It's not defensible. It won't stand up to a challenge. And every community is a little bit different. You can have one community that has your utilities very spread out. You're a rural community. Yours are pretty spread out. And so you have, for the amount of users, you have a lot more infrastructure that has to be in place for that kind of a community. You could have another community that's very compact, so for much less pipes and infrastructure, you're treating much more people. That makes a big difference in your capacity fees. How much treatment you have to do on your water, what you have to do for your wastewater, all makes a difference. So it's a unique fee, and it needs to also be defensible for your community. That's what's done with these capacity fee determinations. Overall, you have a capacity cost. What does it cost to be able to provide this many gallons of water per equivalent residential connection? So that would be one house, or for a commercial facility, what would be equivalent in houses, times however many ERCs are needed to come on board. If it's one person, then it would be times one, or if it's a development, however many homes are in the development. There's two options that you have in determining capacity fee. One is the useful life basis, based on the current condition. And based on the years it's expected to continue to function. In your system, you have large sections of your collection system that were built in the 40s and 50s. And so if you look at what is the useful life based on what the Public Service Commission says, you're way over the useful life for a lot of areas of your collection system. That means it's worth almost nothing. But the true value is the sustainable value, what the utility will have to have in order to keep the wastewater collection available to people coming on. So that's where we come in with the replacement value basis. That's the true and sustainable cost of running the utility. That's the cost of the infrastructure in today's dollars. So the cost that the existing users have been incurring all along in order to keep that capacity available and to keep the infrastructure in condition to be able to be usable. The recommended capacity fees for Williston. For the water capacity fee, you already have a connection fee of $530. That is a different fee that pays for making the connection, the physical connection. Using a useful life basis, it's $100 per ERC, and the replacement value basis is $1,030 per ERC. For the wastewater, Oh, okay, so that, right now you're using about 16% of your water treatment plant capacity. So you have, to get up to 100% capacity, water treatment plant capacity, you have another 19,000 plus service connections available. The capacity fees for all of what you still have available would add up to about $19.9 million. For wastewater, you have a $600 connection fee, 450 feet of sewer pipe, and then it changes if more than that is needed. For the capacity fees, the remaining useful life is $550, and the replacement value is $5,470. Right now, you're using about 48% of your treatment plant capacity. When you reach 85%, you need to have another treatment plant in the works, in design and construction, or in construction. So that would, for 85% capacity, that'd be about 1,676 ERCs, and that would represent in fees about $9.2 million. In summary, your capacity fees provide a means for you, as the leadership of Williston, to responsibly provide water and wastewater service to new users coming on without having your existing users bear the burden of all of what that's going to be involving, and also taking on unnecessary debt. And I am available to answer any questions that you have.
That's, Mr. Cox, go ahead. No, you're good.
You're higher up on the food chain.
No, first. You go first.
Okay, so we have Country Lane Estates that is, I mean, they're just rolling along. We have Covington that they're also planning, as well as some
Berkeley Oaks. Berkeley Oaks.
yes. And I guess my question would be, in other towns that maybe you did that, where we're looking at adding these fees, are you exempting these new developments that are well underway?
Nope.
Or are you saying, okay, after this point, any further development, these fees will be charged?
I think that's more of a question for your city attorney and for the ordinance that you're looking at as
I think it currently reads upon connection. So if they're in the process, it looks like it applies to me.
This ordinance will take effect. The impact fees will be billed at the time that a building permit is submitted. So if a developer has already submitted their building permits, then it will not apply to them. If they have not, then it will.
Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with connection. Because I thought that's the way I read it.
It's the building permit. It's the time of permitting.
Okay.
So if I may ask, if a subdivision is permitted, that is not considered a building permit, correct?
That's correct.
That is, a building permit is for the structure that is being put on that development.
Exactly.
And we're talking about these impact, excuse me, these capacity fees will be assessed at the time each individual dwelling is put into a subdivision. And the subdivision person will not be paying them upfront. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Thank you.
So what does whenever an existing building or structure has not previously paid? That's when they do some change.
Right. So
Whenever an existing, when they alter, hold on, I gotta go back to find it. Go ahead, Mr.
now I was going to go. Which one are you talking about?
Go ahead. Either one, they read the same.
Okay. So we wanted to build a provision in the ordinance where somebody that was already in the system, already here, already part of the process, and let's say that they tear their house down. Extremes here, okay? Tear their house down, raise it, and rebuild a house, and they have a negative impact on the capacity or the water. Then they don't pay. I mean, they're already there. They're already in the system doing it. So, but let's say that they, I don't know, added 16 rooms, I'm getting exaggeration now, 16 rooms to the house, 12 bathrooms. That would add capacity, and unfortunately, that person then would come under, yes, the new thing. There's been a lot of discussion, that I might add, of where that bright line is, the sense of where we charge people and where we don't, and what subdivisions are already here, that are working in the process, have roads in, are communicating with the city, and have committed to coming and building here, and then now we, at the end, add an impact fee, just kind of out of the blue. So, you know, we will have to determine where that process starts and where we decide to stop it. I don't know that I have the answer yet, although there is a legal answer, which is what Kirsten did.
That's correct. Specifically the capacity fee ordinances are governed under Florida Statute 163.31801, if anyone wants to take a look at that. The statute requires that you cannot assess an impact fee before the permitting process unless it were to mitigate the impact fee or lessen the impact fee. So you can't charge beforehand, and you can't put the ordinance into effect such that it would create an impact fee without that 90-day effective window that we have to sort of wait before this can go into effect. So the only time that you are able to assess the permitting fee is or the capacity fee is at permitting or later if you chose, but at permitting is typically when it's done.
Okay, so on what page this is, they're not numbered. 1, 2, 3, page 4, under sewer system capacity development, which is the definition, actually. It says when sewer capacity fees can be subject to payment. And it says, and B, is it B? No. Whenever an existing building or structure which is not previously paid the sewer system capacity fee under this ordinance connects to the system. So they could have a permit already and not connect.
I think that might be a matter of construction, of just the way that it's written. I believe the intent was that it is at the permitting process, but I think that when we say connects to the water system at that permitting process is the intent. But it is a good point, a point well taken, that if we want it to be something more specific, I can definitely change the language to reflect that.
Unless it's written in the Florida statute that it's at the time of permitting, I think we should change this to specifically say that. Because this, to me, looks like if they have a permit, but they've not yet connected, at the time of connection, we could charge it.
I definitely, it's a point well taken. I think that I can definitely make that change if that's something that the council would like.
Do y'all read it that way too?
Okay, there's a lot.
I see Ms. Jones waving her hand.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you.
I think this pertains to a building that is existing that has not been previously connected to the sewer system, and they're requesting that connection. Therefore, at that time, they would probably have to pay a capacity fee. So we have some buildings that are on septic.
Well, they would definitely have a permit already.
No, ma'am.
Because they're built already.
No, ma'am. They wouldn't have a permit for a sewer system. They wouldn't have a plumbing permit. So this.
Pardon me? If they're on a septic tank, they still had to have a permit.
They have to have a permit to build their house.
Correct, but this would be a new permitting process.
It's an application for sewer, as far as I'm concerned. It's not an application permit process.
If they're adding capacity to the city because they're asking to be on the sewer system, they probably need to pay the capacity fee.
But that's not what I'm reading.
So
I want it to be real tied up.
So I think, and I see, thank you, Laura, for that. It's a good point. It says whenever an existing building or structure, not previously paid the fee, connects to the sewer system. So I'm not sure what your permitting situation is, but it may not be a requirement that they get a building permit at the time that they're coming to connect to your system. So if we go ahead and put building permit in there, then no one would be required to if you have an existing building which is now hooking up to your sewer system. Now, in the spirit of the ordinance, if you're hooking up to the sewer system, you would be required to pay an impact or capacity fee. So to that end, I think that connecting to the sewer system would be the correct language in this specific place.
I just think we need to get real specific with it so that there aren't any holes in it anywhere.
I can work with Public Works to come up with something really, really specific.
I think we also need to choose our option, whether we're choosing option 1 or option 2. Because that's probably the first thing we need to do. Because there's a whole lot of difference in the money.
There definitely is. This is written, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, under option 2.
Yes, ma'am.
It is. That's what it looked like to me. But that's the first question for this council, in my opinion, is whether we're going to go option 1 or option 2.
Correct. And that would just be a matter of changing the numbers. For the
And I wouldn't want to move forward without that decision from this body. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Manager Brevard, you open this can of worms, so I'm going to place it. We're talking about increasing a home that is already connected, and you alluded to if they are adding capacity. Some municipalities say square footage, others say bathrooms. If you add 2 bedrooms, you're not adding capacity because you're adding bedrooms. I think that needs to be ironed out here. Is your scenario, are we going to be doing this based on the square foot added to a home, or the number of capacity things like bathroom? Because there's one line of thought where if you add 2 bedrooms, you got 2 more people taking baths and using the bathroom. But that's not clear from the example you gave. So I'm just asking this council to consider making sure that that language is clearly stated in this ordinance.
We can do that also.
Okay.
And when we look at option 1 and option 2, option 1, if you'll go back to that slide, wherever that slide, that was part of her presentation, not in our packet. Yeah, although it's in our packet too, you just have to find the right place. It showed the 2 different options and the dollar amounts. Ooh, that was one of them, I think. There, that's one of them. Okay, this particular one is for wastewater, which is sewer. Option A is $5.50 per residential, equal, is it equal? Is that the right word? I have a different word for that. Equal residential connection. I had equivalent. Is that not the right word? Is it equal or equivalent? I realize. I thought it was equivalent. Yeah. Okay, I knew that's not what I read earlier.
Yeah.
Per equivalent residential connection is $5.50. In option B, it's $5,470. Now, somebody explained to me, obviously you get money at a lesser amount as you go. But if you've done a study on our system and it shows that our wastewater capacity under the remaining useful life of the wastewater system is $550 per unit, why could we not choose that?
You can choose that. That is your decision. Let me tell you something that's unique for your community. It is very unusual for both numbers to be 10% of the other number. That's because you have very old structure in your community. This is the lowest percentage that I've seen. So I think you need to be aware of that and be careful of that because you have such old infrastructure. That also means, and that's what's making the big difference there, that also means you have infrastructure that needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And needs potentially replacement.
Exactly. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So it seems to me by these numbers in this equation, that what we're doing is making new customers pay for the upgrade of the old customers' system.
I would,
There is a balancing act here. I understand that you have we have talked for many years about the questionable quality of our sanitation system. However, we can't put all of that on the backs of any new person. You're going just the opposite of the way of saying, well, new people need to pay their own way. Yeah, but this option B means new people need to pay for the old people's way.
and as an engineer, I'm just giving you facts, so
I
this is completely your decision to make, but I would, counter that with,
Please do.
there is, in repair, replacement that's necessary. And by not having the new users provide in what is the value of what they're coming into and what they're going to need to be using, I would counter that you're making your existing users carry the burden. By not doing that, you're putting the burden onto your existing users.
And I know you've done a study, so there's really no rational, defendable way to raise the option A. But there should be an easy way to lower the option B.
There's lots of decisions as a council that you can make. You can decide not to do them at all.
Right.
You can decide that we're going to do
I mean, to my knowledge,
50% of what the study showed. So you can handle it in any way that you want to.
To my knowledge, we currently have no capacity fees.
That's correct.
And that's what we're talking about.
I think you've had a study done before, but you haven't implemented it.
It was a
is
lot.
what I understand. Yeah.
And if the 5,470 per ERC is defendable, then we could certainly do, say, 2,500, and it would be defendable.
Yes, I would also, you might want to realize that what you've ended up is actually low. I think High Springs has just adopted, I think it's $15,000 altogether. Shipley has one they're getting ready to look at, which is that high. Those are, there's reasons, because communities are all different.
Yes,
But,
definitely.
and honestly, people that are coming in to do developments, they know what's reasonable and what's not.
Right.
In comparison with other communities around the state, you actually have at the replacement cost, you have a very fair one. I mean, it's a very comparable one. But it's still completely your decision how you implement it on behalf of your community.
This capacity on option B, is this just for sewer?
Yes.
Yes.
Because we have a capacity issue with electricity and water.
And
Would
you,
we be stacking them on top of this sewer one?
that would be your choice. And you have stormwater, you could, I mean, that would be your choice, what you pick up. What this is for is just for water and for sewer. And so I think the water was 1,050 or so.
1,030, I believe.
1,030.
Yeah, 130. It should be in the next slide or the one after, or the one before. I'm not sure. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
President Jones, if I may.
Yes, please.
The reason we brought the water and sewer capacity fees first to you, and Mr. Goodman, you're correct, we do have other infrastructure that's lacking, is because this is some of our oldest infrastructure. It's gonna have some of the highest, most expensive replacement, and it's going to have adding all this capacity to it is gonna make it fail a little bit faster than maybe some of the other ones. So we wanted to make sure we implemented this before it was too late. Yes, we would like to bring in more capacity fees. We would like to bring in power. We would like to bring in parks. Our parks are extremely underfunded, and we'd love for our new people to pay for that. But those things aren't gonna come to you right now. So I wouldn't worry too much about those for a while, but these were the most important to us at this point.
And it's.
Maybe a month, no.
Circling back around here.
Mr. Barber is talking to me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is he talking to you too?
He is.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Circling back around to your initial question, as you inevitably have to provide for very aging infrastructure and new users coming on board, so you either can have them paid for as they come on with a fair value, or you can incur debt, and with that, increase your rates, and that's what I was talking about when I said your existing users will bear more of the burden also by how you're having to pay for it.
Currently.
Yes.
And President Jones, if I may, just one more point. We do have the ability to assess. So if we do fail our system because we bring on too much capacity without supporting it, we can assess the current residents and make them pay for it. And we do not want to do that.
Absolutely not. We do not want to do that.
And you were talking about lowering the 5,400.
Yes.
The problem with that is costs are going up. If we drop it down, and then all of a sudden stuff keeps going up, now city is actually, the money would be coming out of the budget of the city to make up that cost.
I will say the reason we haven't had capacity fees is we've been extremely lucky to have huge grants that have built and rehabbed our sewer system, as well as our water system. Not so much our water system, but definitely our sewer system, our sewer plant. And that's how we've been able to survive until now. And, you know, as you say, those will run out sooner or later. Yeah, I see you, Mr. Bishop.
Yes, ma'am. The grants are a beautiful thing, and we've been.
I don't know how we'd have done it without them.
We've been truly blessed with them.
We have.
But they're starting to dry up. So when they dry up, what do we do then?
And I think if I could just a moment add something here, I think, you know, the little bit of time that I've spent here has been quite educational. A lot of things that I'm seeing is that we are taking money and using it to buy things, to do stuff, you know, that's not being replaced. I know Ms. Van Zant talked about our capacity at the sewage facility. You know, she talks about 49%, one of the numbers I got 50. Basically the all-in figure that I have here in front of me, if everything happens that we have on the drawing board within the next 4 to 5 years, we're at 88%. And we have to, by law, I think at 80, start hard planning with cash and money to make the plant bigger, to get back to something that's more normal. My biggest concern, to be quite honest with you, as a city manager, is going into some sort of deficit spending where we don't have the money to pay for these things. You know, we've partnered with the contractors that have currently come in to pay for portions of some of the things that they want to do, and because there's things that we want to have in the community, we end up paying for those things to do. But my concern is that without some sort of capacity fee moving forward, and she is right, we can set it at what we would like, but we have to do something. I
agree with that part.
I don't know what that something is.
I just know $6,500 per house is a lot.
May I ask a relevant question from somebody that is currently trying to build a house outside of the city and the county? What was your fees?
Mine was close to $8,000.
And you do not have any sewer, is that correct?
That is correct. I have.
You have $8,000 of capacity fees and no sewer.
Correct.
Or water.
Or water.
Or water.
So what was the $8,000? That was your permitting fee?
That's our impact fees.
Impact fees.
Oh, you had to pay an impact fee.
Yeah, Levy County, you have to
I
pay
just
impact
wanted to
fee.
get that in on the record.
Had no idea.
Because we are struggling with this. I am personally struggling with this. I am not a big fan of impact fees, no matter what word is used for them. However, the world has changed, and I'm telling you, the $5,470 is not unreasonable at all. And I hate to say that. I may kick myself in the head when I leave here.
But that is only, that's our building, so you're talking about just Water, right? Water and sewer?
Yeah,
This is water and sewer.
That's water and sewer would amount to $6,500.
So that would
Mr. Bishop.
probably be comparable to what
Mr. Bishop has the
all
floor.
is, right?
Yes, ma'am, I'd like to remind you that everything that, Mr. Terry said is correct, and at 90% we have to have shovels in the ground. So if you figure what we just did for roughly $4 million will not touch the improvements that we'll have to do when we get to our 90%. We're probably looking at 8 to 12 at that point. Just throwing some numbers out there for you to think about.
I wish you had a stronger voice. I can't understand a single word.
Yeah, see, I thought it was
At
85. Where did I get 85%?
At 90%, we have to put a shovel in the ground at the sewer plant. So the project we just did is just under $4 million. The project we'll have to do at that point will be somewhere between 8 and 12, depending on the economy. So you start thinking about those numbers and how we're gonna pay those numbers back. And if the grants don't cover it, we still have to, by law, come up with that kind of money and move forward. We have no choice at that point.
Okay, so where are you going with this? Where are we gonna go with it?
We have,
Obviously, option B, because we've decided that A is not enough.
Right.
So option B, we've decided on that, as far as I can tell. And it's defendable with the study at 5470 and 1030 for the water.
to me, we have to look at the future.
Yep.
I think sometimes we get stuck for today. Walt Disney told Orlando when he was building that to build a massive road structure. They laughed. You know what happened? Even today, after 50 years, they're still building that structure, and it's cost more and more money. We have to look at the future and what we're going to need for the city, and not get stuck on, well, let's do what we can do today and worry about that later on.
If we can make it so that the houses that are currently permitted are not impacted, because that'll just add $6,500 to their house.
Yeah,
That they were not expecting.
Yeah.
I would not want to do that.
I don't like that, and I mean, if we got somebody that has a septic right now and they want to connect, I think we should allow them to connect without some kind of a big fee, because we're gonna profit off of the connection anyway. I mean, that should almost be a, you know, like me, I have a septic tank. If I had the option to connect and it cost me a fortune, I would. If it got where it cost a fortune, I would just keep on my
Say
septic.
what you're doing, yeah.
What we want people on.
Yes, the Swanee River wants people on because of the pollution aspect of septic tank. Mr. Bishop, would you give us an estimate of how many people in our area are on septic tanks?
I don't have that number with me. I didn't prepare
Would
for
you
that question.
hazard a guess, or are you gonna be safe?
Just tell us the subdivisions.
As far as the ones coming online,
No, the ones right now that we have that are not on. I could name two off the top of my head.
if I was to guess, I'd say 2,000, 2,200, somewhere in there. I don't have an honest answer on that one.
I understand you don't have an answer. I caught you off guard.
And that's
You would
fine.
have to do a study to find that out, but you're saying over 1,000
Yes, sir.
septic tanks in our community?
No, there were 2,200 septic tanks.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
could not hear it.
In our service area, there may be.
Oh, that's. In our service, I know, I'm not talking about out of the city limits. I mean, I know there are a couple of subdivisions in the city limits who have septic tanks.
Yeah, I'd have to do my homework and come back on that.
I'm not asking for how many, just which subdivisions don't have it.
Northwood. Yeah, northwest section. part
I
of the
know
southwest section.
Northwood does not.
Correct.
Does Woodfield have sewer? Okay, so maybe only Northwood.
Yes, ma'am.
According to my phone friend, there's,
Your phone friend. Your phone friend.
yeah, there's 314 roughly.
314 in the city limits that don't,
Yeah,
that are on
roughly what
septic.
he's trying to tell me.
Roughly.
Yeah.
That's wonderful numbers. That just gives me,
But back to
there's
my,
a huge difference between 314 and 2,500.
And there may be that many in where our sewer runs, because our sewer system does run outside of the city limits into the county. Do you have anything else to add, Ms. Jones?
I do.
Okay.
If we do a septic to sewer program with a grant, there's a very high possibility that we would waive those fees for those people who had septic, went to sewer, and we got it paid for by a state or a federal grant. So that wouldn't necessarily mean that they have to pay those impact fees. And sometimes the grants will help pay for the impact fees.
And they could choose to do it or not do it, correct? But the grant would cover the connection.
So, yeah, the grant covers a lot, so there may or may not, that may be something that we even have to negotiate with a CDBG grant or something.
If we ever get around to putting sewer into Northwood, they're required to hook up within 2 years.
I believe it's a year, but it could be 2.
They're required to hook up, so we would be requiring them to do this.
And what I've been led to believe is that that grant, for the most part, would cover those hookups during that 1 year period, that 12-month period.
Correct.
And I've been told that the staff encourages them as they go through and lay down the new sewer system, that this is a golden opportunity to hook up now and be part of the program. If you do not, you could be faced with somebody that later on down the road could be hit with such a large fee to hook up.
That would be good, if we could do that.
So this actually happened to me. I was told that I had to hook up, and there was a grant, of course, that helped the city, but personally we had to pay, and this was 12 years ago, we had to pay about $4,000 on our own side.
Yeah.
We aren't the type of staff who would make that happen, so we would try to make it so that they wouldn't have any fees at the time.
Chief Rolls.
I believe, just for reference, I think the city of Bellevue went through this a couple years ago, where they had residents sign up for the sewer and a grant paid for it. So that may be a reference point that y'all can check to see if that will help you any.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Didn't it a few years ago, they have a program to get people to switch over? Not everybody.
Not
A lot
everybody
of
did.
people chose not to.
Because they didn't want to pay the fee. Because if you got a septic tank, it's essentially free. And you don't have to pay the water that goes with it either.
I can tell you that the DEP wastewater grant program is unusual in that they, when you apply for that grant, that they do offer to pay for the service connections also.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, do we have any other questions for Ms. Fedzan? Any questions for the attorney? Mr. Bishop?
Yes, ma'am. Getting with Mr. Councilman Bullock's question earlier about being too expensive to hook up. If his drain field goes bad, he's going to be roughly $4,000 and still have a used septic tank. And if his septic tank goes bad, he's going to be closer to 8 or 9. Then he'll have a used septic drain field at that time. So by converting over, although that's a really steep number, it'll actually be cheaper for him in the long run with a lack of maintenance, because we are the maintenance, not his drain field, not his trees, not his all kinds of stuff. Just something to think about.
So even if you have to cross the road, you've got to tear out, because I've heard stories of people having to pay to have roads repaired.
Well, there's circumstances for everything. I don't have to answer for every question, but at the end of the day, you pay a one-time fee. You never have a drain field. You never have kids running the drain field over. You don't have the dump trucks turning around, garbage trucks turning around, and your drain field never has to get, your septic tank never has to get pumped at that point.
Yeah, usually if the sewer's on the other side of the road, they'll just tell you it's not available. Unless you want to pay the whole fee.
Yes, ma'am.
The whole fee, not just the connection fee or the capacity fee. That's what I've heard in the past.
That's what I've heard
Yeah.
recently.
Recently as well. People who wanted to be on and the sewer was on the other side of the road. And they just said, I'm sorry, it's not available. So, and you're right, it's gonna take some money to get it on the other side of the road. We can do those jack and bore into the roads to get it there. Any other questions, discussion?
McMillan.
Mr. McMillan, sorry I couldn't tell who it was because of the podium.
Steve McMillan, surveyor. Just real quick, is there a sliding scale that might be better than a? There's people that have budgeted houses already that weren't expecting a 5% gain with the impact fees. We did this before in the 2000s. We were discovered, and the city did the impact fees. By 2008, the impact fees went away. And now here we are again, but, and I agree with everything you're saying, but I didn't know if it was something that could be, I don't 3-year program to get to these kind of numbers,
Phased in.
or phased in? I don't know, those are just my 2 cents to kind of help both sides maybe.
Well, as I said at the very beginning, we know the 5470 is defendable. So we can go anywhere under that. And we know that the 1030 is defendable.
Because there will be permits lost also.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a certain amount, I don't know a percentage.
If somebody's already budgeted and got their permit already, I would like to opt them out, if that's the right word. And if somebody knowingly comes and knows that we have impact fees or capacity fees, whatever you want to call them, it amounts to the same thing, then they will be aware of it and we can go forward with it. But if they've already got a permit, I don't think we need to add to their costs. I am too, her light is on.
I think that I think that we just need to be clear about when we are trying to create this, because when we're trying to assess the impact fees for each unit, because I think that we're saying, I hear some ideas going around and it all sounds like everyone's sort of agreeing, but there are some differences in what everyone is saying, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Is it the will of the council that we word this such that when a building permit is applied for is when the impact fee is assessed, and for an existing building, when a connection to the sewer is made is when the impact fee is assessed?
That would mean in order to get a building permit, you must pay the impact fee.
Correct.
I think I agree with the first part, I'm not
I
sure
don't
about the
like
second
the second
part.
part.
The second part slowed me down, I was with you till you got there.
Okay.
No idea.
So for existing buildings, let's say you bulldoze your house is already connected to the sewer, you bulldoze your house and you had a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and you build a 12-bedroom, 12-bathroom house. Okay.
That's a brand new house, I'm with you.
We would all agree that that is sort of a new
Yeah.
situation, new structure.
Absolutely.
Okay, but, so also building permit at that same time is when we would like to assess the fees, when they get a building permit for that 12-bedroom, 12-bathroom house.
It's an existing house that's already hooked up and adds another bedroom and bath.
That is the next scenario that I would now like to address. At what point are we wanting to assess impact fees on that? That I don't think that there's a
Let her finish, Laura, I see you, let her finish.
there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer here, aside from it can't be before the building permit, can't be before that. Anytime after that is fine. I think Laura has an opinion, and I'm happy to hear it.
When we give out a building permit for a new building, whether it's been demolished or whether it's being renovated, a new building permit will get impact fees from the county. A new house, will get impact fees from the county.
From the county?
Mm-hmm. So if a house was
Okay, hold
demolished.
on, hold on. You're talking about a house that's in the county or the house that's in the city?
In the city.
So you're gonna have
We
to.
pay the city, we pay the county impact fees.
All right, so if the county, even if it's built in the city, they have to pay county impact fees?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not nice.
Can I ask how much? Do you know
They're not
offhand?
very much. We have, I can find it for you. But my point is, if the house was there and somebody paid the capacity fee for the school 40 years ago, demolished the house and built a new one, they're paying it again.
If they demolish the house, I understand that,
So why wouldn't they pay the capacity fee again for water?
because they're already hooked up.
But their kids have already gone to school.
I'm not talking about school, I'm talking about wastewater and sewer.
But that's just,
I don't care about
that's what
school.
impact fees are.
And you're saying that if they build in the county, they pay school impact fees.
If they build in the city, they will pay those fees again. That's the only time that they collect impact fees is with a building permit.
For the school.
For all the things that the county assesses, or any county assesses.
But they don't assess water and wastewater in the city. I
Our
just wanna
county
get
does not.
clarification. Thank you,
Our
because
county
it sounded like that's what you said to begin with. That's
No,
why I
but
was
what I'm saying is, you're already,
confusing me here.
so you've already paid, so you built your house 20 years ago, and you already paid your capacity fees for schools. and you demolish your house and you
I
build
don't,
a
I
new
don't
one.
wanna talk about schools.
Well, whatever the impact fees are for the county. So say it's EMS or roads or parks, whatever the counties assess, they're gonna assess it again. So the point is, every time a new building permit is pulled for a new building, you assess again.
That doesn't mean we have to.
That's the
Does
way,
that also hold true for a remodel,
no,
an addition,
no,
only for a new
a
structure?
new building.
Well, we're talking about an addition here is what we were discussing at the moment. That's where we were, was an addition. We know if it's demolished, they're gonna pay it.
They're gonna pay it again.
But if they add a bedroom and a bathroom, we're saying we don't particularly want them to pay all of it anyway. I might be okay with them paying part of it.
There is, if I may make a suggestion,
I know, I saw that. What page?
Yeah.
No page numbers.
on each of, for your sewer, there are no page numbers. If you look at Article 2, so just flip through until you find that.
Okay.
It's section 2.01.
It's about halfway in. It says Article 2 sewer system capacity fees.
So
And
if you,
go ahead.
there you go. So if you take a look right here, you have, if you can keep scrolling down to just sort of
I
give
started
an
to say that's
idea.
water. Keep going till you get to sewer. Right, but you gotta go the other way to find Article 2.
I think you know. I think you found it.
It reads the same. Yes, see, they got numbers, we don't.
It's essentially the same. So you got it right there, Latricia. That's it. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, go back a page or two. Till you get to the bedroom part. Isn't that where you're headed?
Yeah.
Right
So
there.
essentially what you have right here is, this is how we're going to calculate your equivalent units. So what you have is to say, okay, well, you know, this kind of building is one equivalent residential unit. This kind of building is 0.75. This kind of building is 0.80, or whatever it be. Which makes it really, really easy for your staff to go down and figure out exactly how much the impact fee is going to be per that equivalent unit. Now, what we can do is also, if you look at section C, so section 2.01, and it'll be subsection C, right there. So in the event that a connection is not listed in the schedule above, the city shall determine the appropriate capacity fee using an estimated number of ERUs based on the estimated wastewater production gallons per day for the type of property used as determined by the city manager. So right now, we have that in there as sort of a, if there's something that we haven't accounted for, we have a way to account for it. We can put in here something that stops us, as far as I understand, someone correct me if they know something I don't know, that says if you add on a bedroom, it'll be point, etc., ERU, and that's what it will be named. If it's adding 2 bedrooms, if it's adding a bathroom, this is what we're going to determine it to be. And I can look at other cities. I'm sure that we would not be the first city to ever do something like that, and I can bring that back to you if that's something that we're concerned about.
Yeah, because many of them have 2 different things, adding a bathroom and the square footage increase.
Right. So.
Yeah, because this is strictly for new builds, and it's the remodel with an addition. Not necessarily a remodel, but an addition. That wouldn't necessarily be a whole unit, in my mind.
Right. So what you're saying, I think, is if you add on a bedroom, it's not the same as building a whole new house. So you shouldn't be charged $5,400 again because you've added a bedroom. I think that it sounds like everyone's in agreement with that concept. But maybe everyone would be in agreement with if you add a bedroom and a bathroom, it's 0.25 of a residential unit. So you would pay 1/4 of whatever the relevant fee is. I'm positive that I could find other ordinances that use that. We could also use the square footage method that the mayor has also sort of put into play here. It's up to you all.
So we
I'm
probably have to
positive I can
change everything if we started down that.
Could I throw something out for you?
Ma'am?
Could I throw something into the mix for
absolutely.
you?
Oh, please.
You may be splitting hairs. If you look at what an ERU is, I think if you go back up to that, it was 2 bedrooms or more, or 4 bedrooms or more?
1 to 2 is 0.833.
And so,
Greater than
and
2
and
is
then,
a full unit.
yeah, so for your initial fees, whether they are 4 bedrooms or 6 bedrooms, you're not charging anything different to them. So, you may be splitting hairs as far as if they add another bathroom or they add another.
But we need to write it in here because that's not written in here now. This is all new construction, as far as I can read it anyway.
So, the difference between what you're gonna do to your capacity based on 6 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms may not be worth what you're needing to, take care of here with all the details.
I'm more worried about existing construction that has an addition, not paying the whole thing. Mr. Nickel.
Yes, Walt Nickel with Great Pier. I just want to point, if you go to section 4.02, you have a paragraph in there, and Mr. Boviard was referring earlier about that. We really don't define, though, whether it's by square foot, number of rooms, or fixtures. It just says upon additional demand created, and that's not defined. That's really the problem. You have the language in there, but fine-tuning that language is missing.
That is
clear. Yeah.
Because that is very ambiguous, and that lends itself to one person making a decision rather than having a process. Just needs better definition.
Great point. If you have a change in size or use, it's a miscellaneous provision. I think that's a great place.
I definitely agree with that. I think that we can put in there, and I'll work with Public Works because they're the most knowledgeable about what actually creates additional demand on your sewer and your water. Certainly more knowledgeable than I am about what would actually create that demand. So I'll work with them to put together a definition that more thoroughly states what we're talking about and hopefully sort of settles this issue of if it's new or if it's old or if it's renovation.
Or additional.
Or an addition.
Because a renovation may not actually add more bedrooms or bathrooms, but it's still something that,
Renovation is putting a porch on the house.
well, it could be what I did, take it down to studs and rebuild it, but there's still the same number of bedrooms and the same number of
Tear down the
bathrooms.
wall and turn the bedroom into a living room and actually reduce it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Okay, so I guess my question is, are you so inclined to pass on first reading and reconsider on second reading when you get the new verbiage? Or are you so inclined to table?
Table. First. First with the new verbiage.
So pass on first and do new verbiage on the second reading?
And
Is
then
that
the
what I'm
second
hearing?
comes.
Yeah, for the 5,000 for the new.
The one thing it does is it doesn't make us start all over again and do it 2 more times. We've done it once already and can take new verbiage on the second reading.
How much can the verbiage change on the second reading?
I am so glad that you asked me that question. Based on the changes that I have written down, especially because something that I keep in mind whenever we're talking about capacity fees is that the consequence of doing it wrong is paying it back.
Oh yeah, which we have done.
Right. So we do not want to do that again. So I would recommend erring on the side of caution. Typically, it's if you change something that's not material to the content of the ordinance, you can pass it on first and then reword. I would recommend erring on the side of caution, bringing it back for a first reading with the different verbiage. I know that it takes longer, but it's worth the investment, in my opinion.
If we do that, it's going to be probably January before we get it done. But once we take the advice of legal,
We're talking about option 2.
yes,
Not option 1.
option 2.
And that also has the benefit of telling all the developers and people that are thinking about building out there.
Better
that
get a
it's on the
permit.
table.
You better get a permit.
Start thinking.
Yeah.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
May I also add, even though this has come back to y'all very quickly, our driving theme has been to err on the side of caution.
Do it right.
The whole time, because of our concerns of what occurred before.
Right. Appreciate that. Okay, so do we have consensus for using the legal opinion to table it at this time and take at our, what looks like our first meeting in December, the first reading again?
Can legal have it prepared by then?
Legal can't.
Okay, so, I think we need a motion to table.
Well, just to, an item to emphasize,
Yes, sir.
we did this before with the impact fees, we wound up giving them all back. Some of it was a fight, some of it wasn't, but ultimately, all of them were given back, so what have we accomplished? Here we are going again, same, riding the same horse.
And before, I believe they were an impact fee on a permit. It didn't actually go to the wastewater or
That's right.
or water. It was just, as Ms. Willis said, across the board. It was just a one-time thing for everything. All right, so do I have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table.
I have a motion to have a second. Any further discussion? I'll just say I'm sorry it took so long, but I think we needed to do it. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll close that public hearing. We have tabled item B, so we'll move to item C, which is resolution 2022-91, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the land lease agreement for vacant land between Brandon Hernandez and the City of Williston for property at the airport with a legal description as outlined in the attached land lease agreement, authorizing the City Council President to execute the land lease agreement and providing an effective date. Mr. Stiegel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a land lease for 1 acre of land. If you're familiar with the airport and where the well-built gate is, old well-built doors building, what we did was took 1 square acre and butted it right up to well-built doors area on the same side of the road, across from the Horseman's Park. And Brandon's intention is to,
So it's across the road, right?
from the Horseman's Park.
Yeah. Okay.
So
It's not contiguous to what he has now.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
It's outside the fence.
Gotcha.
And that was part of his request. Currently, Brandon works a lot out of his brother Brian's hangar, and our intention with setting this lease up was to move a lot of the automobile traffic out of the airport fence, and let them focus on airplanes within the airport fence and do their automotive work outside the fence. So Brian will have 1 land lease with his business inside the fence, and Brandon, the other brother, will have a 1 acre land lease outside the fence for automotive.
Okay. You'll hear the request. I guess I hear they're twins.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I hear. Do we currently have automotive at the airport? Would be my question. And do we want automotive at the airport?
We don't, it's kind of a yes and no question.
Okay.
Brandon and Brian do some work out of Brian's hangar currently. They do some odd jobs here and there, and allowing Brandon to have this land lease outside the fence would take all of that automotive outside the airport fence. And that was our intention with this altogether. So, one, it's additional income for having another acre leased, but it also gets a lot of traffic that doesn't need to be on the airport proper, off the airport.
Okay.
Ms. Jones had a question earlier when we submitted this land lease to the legal team, asking if they were planning on painting. I did reach out to Brandon about that, and he said yes, he was planning on painting, and his booth was going to be EPA compliant.
Okay, wonderful.
So that was the response that I got from him.
Okay, the other question, now that I know that it's not contiguous, he's going to build a building.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when do we get that?
When do we get the building?
I mean, this is nothing in here about building a building that I saw.
Right. Yeah, this is just a land lease. So from my understanding, he's going to get a small metal building put on the premises, just something to keep vehicles under. He's going to do a little bit of land clearing because right now, if you're going down that road, I know you're familiar with the area. Right beside Well-Built, there's a larger open area that leads back to an old hard stand right next to the concrete.
Yeah.
So part of that road is where his 1 acre is.
Okay.
So he's still going to have to clear a pretty significant amount of trees to do anything with it. But he is going to put a small building there, and he's going to have to go through the permitting process like everybody else.
Okay, and I guess my question is, this doesn't address what happens to the building if he leaves. I mean, don't we need a lease that has a lease on the property that he puts a building on? I mean, there's one of those, too.
We do have that, yes, ma'am.
But this is not it.
Right, this is just a vacant land lease.
Yeah, so if he's going to put up a building, are we going to change the lease? I guess that's my question. And I thought he was just next to the other lease that his brother has. I didn't realize it was the other brother.
Yes, ma'am. No,
I would have asked the question earlier.
Right. I mean, we can make those amendments to the land lease if that's what you want. If the building becomes ours after so many years, I believe that this is a short-term lease as is. So if we give him a 5-year lease and he chooses not to come or not to renew, then after 5 years, what happens to the building? It would become the city of Williston's. I'm not.
Well, see, this doesn't say that. I would hate for him to take it down and take it with him.
Right, and I can understand that.
And I think there's another lease that has that in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought there was.
I think there's multiple lease choices, and the one that he's just paying land lease, but he's planning to put up a building.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one of those too.
Okay. We can look for it. We can make those changes if that's what you want.
That's definitely something that we have done in the past for other lessees. I think that so what you're referring to, I think right now is number 10 on page 67, is that any improvements made shall become the property of the lessor upon termination of the lease.
Computer shut down.
So specifically, there you go, you got it. If you look at number 10, it says lessee specifically agrees that any and all improvements except signs, equipments, and trade fixtures installed located upon the said premises shall become the property of lessor upon termination of this lease.
Perfect. Didn't know that was in there. I missed it earlier when I was reading it. So I guess it'll work like it is.
That would be my opinion, is that if the building were erected on that land, it would become ours.
And are we going to give him a certain time to start building, or just let him lease it?
That was something that I've actually Kelly and I wanted to talk to Kirsten about in a couple of upcoming leases that we have for aircraft hangars, and getting that language into into our newer leases, because we've had quite a few older leases that are ending their tenure here shortly, that the leasee has had it for 20 years, and never put anything on it, never attempted to, and doesn't want to, because we've reached out and asked them. So that is something that Kelly and I were planning on getting with Kirsten with. We have 2 or 3 aircraft hangar leases that are coming down the pipe, and we were going to have that conversation with them.
I can think of a couple of vacant pieces of land that they
prime
said they were
real
going to
estate.
build and they never had.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I guess we're good.
I had a question about the insurance on this. It says Florida Department of Environmental Protection, DEP, would examine to determine the extent of storage or use of hazardous materials to determine the proper amount of pollution insurance.
Yes, sir.
What is the pollution insurance? Are they painting there?
I would imagine that would be levied by DEP upon inspection of the site.
I think we need to know how much pollution, because years ago, we got in a real problem, somebody moved off.
That's why I always ask that question.
Right. And I believe that's why that's there. So if they were to put this site up, if they were to put a paint booth there on the facility, according to their land lease, they would have to go out for an environmental insurance.
And not only would they have to do that, but under the provisions of the lease, they have to obtain that insurance within 15 days, and the city has to be an additional insured party. So we would also receive notice of that policy. We would be an additional insured on that policy, and as an additional insured, we would be able to look at all of the things that are insured under that policy.
And if they drop the insurance, what would we do with their paint booth?
Drop them.
Yeah, we may have to notify them to come look at it too. So I don't know that they'll know it's there unless we tell them.
I can absolutely reach out to the DEP and make that happen if
So
when that happens.
Yeah, I think number 15, if you look at subsection D, all policies shall contain the clause that the same shall not be canceled except and until 15 days after written notice to the lessor. So they would have to give us 15 days written notice, and that would be in the policy, not just in their lease.
Or that would be a violation of the lease.
It would be a violation of the lease, and it would be a violation of the policy. It would be in the policy that they cannot cancel it.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
Question. So, and Ben, I know that I've seen in the past where people have built these paint booths, and it actually costs almost as much money to tear it down and move it as it does to put it up.
Right.
So in this particular case, if they're gonna do a paint booth and they leave it there, I don't know that we wanna own a paint booth.
Right.
So, and I don't know how we would enforce them to remove it, if they simply left, other than through litigation.
If it's any good, we could probably sell it.
Yeah, but then you get into
They're very expensive.
then you get into the stormwater clauses and other environmental clauses in the lease that talk about soil sampling and.
Yeah. I'm not a painter, but I do know these people that erect these things. They simply walk away from them. They do not pay to move them. They do not tear them down. They just leave, and because of the cleanup and the cost of actually moving them is as much as just building another one somewhere else. Now, maybe times have changed, but I think the chief is shaking his head yes, and I know he dabbles in a little bit of that.
I just know somebody who just bought one that was used, and they're moving it to our area.
Was it cost effective?
No.
They got it way cheaper than a new one would have cost.
They got it cheaper, but the price to put it back up is you break out.
Yeah, who knows? And I think they're gonna put it up themselves.
Kirsten, is that something that we can have added somewhere in the lease, as if they do put a paint booth up, that they would have to be required to remove it before vacating the property?
We can definitely add that to the lease, something specific in there. I will also say that provision 16 of the lease does sort of, y'all are really testing me. Where did I put that specific thing that I referenced? It's in the indemnification of the lessor. If we did have any environmental issues, the lessee would be liable to pay us back for any damages that we incur.
Been there, done that, right, Mr. Ross? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was bad.
I got a question. What kind of thorough traffic is on there? I mean, he's gonna be painting and all, but sometimes if he's doing mechanicing, some of these mechanic shops don't look good to the eye when you go. They got cars and scrap stuff sitting around everywhere. Is it gonna be an eyesore for people coming out there? Is there a way to manage and monitor, like, hey, you can't just have junk cars set around here everywhere?
Yes, sir. There is actually provision in the lease saying that it has to be tidy and kept, to include mowing the lawn. He doesn't have a whole lot of lawn, but Brandon and I have talked about the orientation of the building, the proposed building, and how they're going to manage traffic in and out of it. And we're going to use the building and some of the landscaping out there to block a lot of what would be blight, so that the people over at the Horseman's Park don't have to stare at a whole bunch of busted up cars or vehicles on jacks or what have you. So we're planning on using the side of the building as basically a blocking apparatus and channeling a path through the trees, so that they have to basically have a driveway into the trees to get to the building. So it blocks a lot of that blight.
Like put the opening so it doesn't face the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. That should help a lot.
It's also explicitly stated in number 7 that they have to comply with all of our codes of ordinances, so our lovely code enforcement officer can go out there if it's looking run down.
Right, like 22.
Terrific. Okay, so are we ready for a motion?
There are a couple of items that I haven't mentioned yet. Any questions on any of the paragraphs?
You want to go page by page, you go.
Hey, we read it. That's not good to know, but we actually read it? No. Okay, so we're at Resolution 2022-91. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2022-91.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion from anyone? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stegall. Item D is Resolution 2022-92, a resolution for the City Council of the City Council for the City of Williston, Florida, approving a proposed final subdivision plat for Country Lane Estates, authorizing the City Council President to execute the land lease agreement and providing an effective date. Ms. Jones.
Real quick before we start, this is a quasi-judicial procedure.
Oh, it is.
Sorry. It is.
Certainly does not say so.
I did not tell you. I apologize.
Okay, get a paper out. I got a special paper. What do I do without it?
I'll also say before we start that I think that there needs to be an amendment to the title, everything after estate, so authorizing the City Council President to execute the land lease agreement should probably be omitted from there because that does not reference this resolution. And that was my bad. I apologize.
Take out the provide an effective date.
Take out the authorizing the City Council President to execute the land lease agreement because this does not reference the land lease agreement.
Okay, so all the way up there. So we will reread it. Resolution 2022-92, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving a proposed final subdivision plat for Country Lane Estates. All right. At this time, we will ask all council members if they have had any ex parte communication with anyone regarding this particular item. No. Hearing none. I will ask anyone who wishes to speak to this item to please stand and be sworn in by the city clerk. If you have any idea that you might speak, please stand. Ms. Wright.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we should also state that the clerk will take custody of all exhibits, meaning exhibits, diagrams, photographs, any similar physical evidence that may be turned over by anyone. And it will be kept by the clerk for 30 days until the time of possible appeal has expired. At this time, we'll have an opening statement from the staff. Ms. Jones.
Thank you. On October 25th, this final plat went to Planning and Zoning, and it was approved to go to City Council. You've seen this plat before. This is Country Lane Estates. It's It's located off of Northwest 7th Street with 69 lots inside the subdivision and 29 lots with driveways located off of either Northwest 7th Street, Northwest 4th Avenue, or Northwest 4th Street. Does everybody understand where that is? I also gave you a large plat to look at in case the smaller one was hard. You got a really small one in your packet, you got a medium-sized one, you got a really big one. And if anybody in the audience wants to look at them, they're on the round table in front of President Jones. So all the lots are meeting the minimum setback requirements for the R1A zoning district. The final plat has the exact lot sizes and does meet the minimum lot requirements. Easements have been put in place on the plat to accommodate electric utilities, water, gas, and sewer. And that's something that you didn't see last time. This plat has an electrical easement at the top, on the northernmost part. And it also, I believe, has the lift station?
It's been added.
The lift station's been added in there. So those are both new. The common areas and drainage easements will be conveyed to the Country Lane Estates Homeowners Association for ownership, management, and maintenance. We have no other major changes that came before the preliminary plat. In your packet, you're going to find an application, a plat, and a developer's agreement that has already been approved. So staff recommends approval of the final plat. Do you have any questions for me?
Do you have any witnesses or any evidence to present that has not already been presented?
I don't.
Okay. At this time, I would ask the applicant if they have any comment or an open statement they would like to make.
Steve McMillan. We came here almost to the date 2 years ago with preliminary plat, back when it was wooded and we called it Ghost Town.
It still goes down.
Obviously, things have changed. It's basically ready to rock and roll, just cleaning up some things. We got the property corners just set. But it's 2 years later, it's ready to go, so final plat time, and that's what we're here to ask for.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses to call or any evidence to turn in that's not already turned in?
I don't think so.
Okay. At this time, we would ask the public if they have anything that they would like to add, because this is a public hearing and it is your opportunity to speak. Anyone online who wants to speak to this subject?
Anyone online wish to speak to this subject, unmute your mic and speak up now. Nothing heard.
Okay, well, I'd ask if the applicant has a closing statement, or they're happy with what they've already said.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Closing statement by the staff.
Thank you. The staff is excited to get this project started, to start seeing some homes out there, and as soon as this final plat is approved by you, it will be recorded and we can start giving permits out.
Okay. Any questions by the council or staff, for that matter, other staff? Okay. So we would entertain a motion. Let me make sure we're in the right place here. Oh, I guess my question, I had a couple of questions. The lift station, is it new or updated?
It's brand new.
Okay, it was relocated.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's brand new. I know there was some verbiage in what we read that said it could be one or the other. I thought the decision had been made to move it and do a new one. I liked what I saw about the trees. In fact, the trees will be 2 per lot. It's at least 2 per lot. The one thing I did see on page 107, section 22, 1.1, it has Jackie Gorman's name listed as the city manager. Page 107 of our packet. So that needs to be.
It's possible that that developer's agreement, Kirsten, was already approved.
Oh, that's a possibility.
1 second, let me navigate. My
We have to
computer's
go
being
to
a little slow.
107. Latricia, can you go back a little and let's see what this is?
This
Okay.
is the developer's agreement.
Okay, so it's okay that it's there. All right. And the homeowners association rules are not here, but will be brought to us when they're before any. Is it before the
Before
occupancy.
they get their COs, their
Before
certificates
the
of occupancy.
first occupancy,
Mhm.
not before the first permit.
Right.
Okay, that was my only clarification there. Okay, so we are then entertaining resolution 2022-92 for approval of the final plat for Country Lane Estates. Do I have a motion?
This question probably don't have anything to do with the plat, so I might not be right, but I remember there was some trouble with the sidewalks and that drainage area and all that. Does that not have anything to do with this? Is that contractor still gonna be liable to try to fix whatever that was, the drainage over there?
The
On
drainage at this point,
7th Street?
the engineers are all in, agreement that the drainage should be fixed. There's no way for us to know until we get a rain event.
Ready to.
Right. But our engineers and their engineers are in agreement that the things that have needed to be changed have been changed. And it really wasn't that they didn't do their engineering correctly. It's that it was a time when all those floods happened, when the construction was in between stages.
The ponds
And-
weren't connected to the.
Right, and it didn't get,
retention
it kind of was just really bad timing. So
Right.
we don't expect those issues to happen again, Councilman Bullock, and if they do, we have a backup plan, as does Lennar, to go and further fix any drainage issues.
Wonderful. That answer your question, Mr. Bullock?
It does.
Okay, still, I don't think I got a motion.
I move that we approve, resolution 2022-92.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Last call for public comment. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we will close that quasi judicial.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we move to E, which is resolution 2022-93, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City Council President to authorize the purchase of Itron 100W endpoints and providing an effective date. Jason.
My name is Jason Lee. I am the logistics and purchasing agent for the city of Williston. I would like to ask permission to purchase Itron ERTs, and essentially what they are devices that we put onto water meters to help facilitate our meter reading. Essentially, it sends out a signal and gives us the meter reading automatically to our handhelds that we have out in the field. And we've been out of them for a while. The factory was out of them. It is a sole provider that creates these. So I was unable to get 3 separate quotes. I can only get 1 quote at a time as one company. Just asking for permission.
Okay. My only question is, where's the funding coming from?
This is coming out of water.
And that's part of, is it reserves, is it capital, is it ARCA funds? Just don't know where the money's coming from.
I honestly do not know at this time.
Where's Mr. Bishop?
In
In the bathroom.
Is it on, sometimes it's on the agenda item. Sometimes
If
we
it
ask-
is, I missed it. Go back to the front, because that was the question I wrote on my agenda when I saw it. Let's see right there.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't say. Okay, so is
Stephen Bloom is
Stephen's
online.
online.
Yeah.
Who's
Give
on,
us a moment to
Tom's
ask.
online?
Stephen
Stephen.
Bloom.
Stephen, okay.
Steven, you wanna talk about this? I'm gonna give you the mic.
Didn't know Stephen was there. We've been talking to him all night.
Okay, you're on the mic, or on Steven.
Yes, good evening.
You on that?
Yeah, this would come, I hope you can hear me, this would come from the ARPA funds.
Hang on, I gotta get it
It may
right.
be Donald we need to ask.
No, he's prepared. He said it will be coming out of ARPA funds.
Try it again.
It will not, or it will?
It will.
It will be coming out of ARPA funds. Okay. All I needed to know where the money was coming from.
Okay,
Does
we got
anybody
it.
have any questions? Is this new
I
technology
can,
or
but they didn't,
replacement?
but we got it.
Technology.
This is current technology we've been using.
We
We've
got
been
it
out of
across
them
the
trying
thing.
to get our foot in the door so that we can get some more in to keep
Perfect.
up with what we're using.
Okay. You
It's
did
not
say
going
that. I
through
did
the
hear you. I
speakers,
was just
but I
making
heard
sure.
it's going, coming out of ARPA funds, correct?
What's the difference in using it compared to not using it? How have we been getting by without it?
We
So
get
it's
by
coming out of our
okay
funds,
without
correct?
it. What it ends up doing is when we attach it
Yes.
onto there,
Okay, we got
it
it
helps save
crossed
time
over.
of the meter reading route and accounts for less human error of, say, having to go out and do a recheck. It helps saves us time because it's accurate. It picks it up automatically for us, and it does it within a mile radius. So it helps save time for the meter readers, which also then provides time for billing. So it allows us to get our routes done quicker, allows billing to process it faster, and allows us to get the billing process completed a lot quicker.
So without these, Jason, we have to manually read the meter, correct?
Every
You
single
have
one.
to get in and out of their vehicle
I
and
don't
walk
know
down the
if
street.
Anybody has seen them, but I've seen those meter
Oh, yeah.
readers go up to places that they had to dig. They actually had
Yep.
to come to me and say, you have any idea where your meter is? We can't even find it. And I said, I'm sorry, I will clean it out.
Mine's painted blue.
Some of them even
Hard
have
to do.
snakes in them as
Okay.
well, and bees and hornets.
All right, so it's 13,727.52. Entertain a motion for resolution 2022-93.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 2022-93.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion from anyone else? All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jason.
No problem. Thank you.
Resolution 2022-94, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, approving the lease agreement for a room in City Hall between Central Florida Community Action Agency and the City of Williston. Property more specifically described in attached lease, authorizing the City Council President to execute the lease and providing an effective date. Mr. Brevard.
Thank you very much, Madam President. As you know, this is something my understanding the board's been trying to get done for some time, is get the community action group in here. So we finally worked out a lease agreement with them to lease them space here in the main hallway where Wayne's office used to be. So I did give you handouts, so do not go with the one that's in your packet. There have been some changes to that actual one. Most notably, to basically, I think, is paragraph number 7 from the original, which just kind of cleans it up a little bit, and defines a little bit, whose roles are what, and what to do with confidential information they may have on their desk, during the cleaning process. So just kind of like putting the cards on the table a little more. The rental is for $1,800 a year. It's to be paid annually at the signature of the lease. They were pretty good with that. I think it's gonna be a great thing for the community. As you know, that they have helped people in our community in the past, help pay the bills. There's a lot they can do. We just recently went to, I guess a lack of terms, an award banquet for them, where they showcased a lot of things that they do that were exceptionally well for the community. Having them here in lieu of telling somebody to go home and basically get on the computer and talk to them, now we can simply direct them to the office when they're here, and I suspect that they'll be here most of the time.
Terrific. And I'm thrilled that they're gonna be here. Any questions for the city manager? Okay, we're gonna entertain a motion for resolution 2022-94.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2022-94.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, item G, discussion with possible action, rescheduling the natural gas bulk price workshop. And this would be Mr. Bishop and the Miss City Manager. What would y'all like to do?
Well, as you know, we canceled it, so we do need to kind of pick a date to have it done. If you don't recall, what this is about is trying to hedge our guesses on what the natural gas decatherm rate's going to be and try to lock it in. There's some communities, if you don't recall, have done very well in locking in that price and can save a considerable amount of money. Now, this is just for our natural gas.
Bulk power, right? I mean, bulk gas.
Bulk gas. It doesn't involve power at all, or what FMPA pays or anything like that.
Right.
This is strictly our gas business.
we just, like I said, we need to pick a date, have them come in, we need about an hour worth of your time, do a presentation, see if it's something we're interested in doing. I can tell you that, I don't know what the bulk gas rate is today, but, you know, when it's $9 a decatherm, if we locked it in at 4, it's a considerable amount of savings.
Oh, yeah.
And it may seem small in your monthly bill, but any savings is a savings.
Okay, so when were you looking for?
I was gonna leave it to the pleasure of the council. They're pretty much open anytime, unless my magic phone a friend texts me in the middle of this conversation and fix a date for us.
I understand he's gonna be out for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes, ma'am, he will.
So we're talking maybe the first full week of December?
I'm okay with that. I mean, although this is something we obviously would like to do, it's probably something that, you know, we don't expect to do until January or February or somewhere around there. So that means be able to have the option to do that. So whatever works best for you, Madam President, and the council, works good for us.
How about we come an hour early on December 6th? So that it's all on the same day.
We could
Does that
certainly.
work for anybody? You're shaking your head at me.
Works for me.
The only thing is if it runs long.
That's true.
Well, it couldn't run long. Not if we told them we had to be through by 6 o'clock.
Time limit.
I mean, if we tell them we have from 5 to 6, that's all we got.
I think we requested an hour last time. The presentation that I sat through was not lengthy. You know, it's understanding the process is not difficult. It's anticipating the risk is what is the issue.
I mean, we could come on another night if you want to propose a different one.
Do the 1 hour earlier.
I would too.
I mean, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay, so 5 o'clock on December 6th, see if they're available. Should we pick an alternative date just in case?
If you would like, we can. Yep.
If you want to say the beginning of December.
I can tell you the 8th, I have to go to a Florida.
I have a meeting on the 8th.
Yeah. I've got a Florida Municipal Insurance Trust meeting on the 8th for Florida League of Cities. But the 7th, if you want to come 2 nights in a row, or either we'd have to go to another night.
The 6th and the 20th.
Yeah.
The 6th and the 20th.
Ex-
The next meeting would be the 20th as well. So
Except that's on the agenda as well.
Right.
Just a reminder, I'm sorry, that the 20th, that you all had already voted to not have a meeting that night.
Yeah, we're not having a meeting on the 20th. Take it off your calendar. We already voted not to have that at the last meeting. It was in the minutes. Yeah, it was in the minutes. That's where I read it was in the minutes.
I think they were pretty open to our schedule, unless I'm missing something here from them. I would say we stick with the 6th and see what happens, and I'm sure that the group out of Gainesville would be more than happy to get us in on the 6th.
Okay, let's try that.
Do the 6th if we need more time. We'll pick another day.
5 o'clock. So FGU workshop. And we said 5 o'clock. Okay, thank you very much. Remind us. Okay. And then we'll move to the next item, which is H. Discussion with possible action canceling the November 22nd council meeting, which is 2 days before Thanksgiving. Anybody have anything to say about that? We had staff and council members that were going to be out of town the week of Thanksgiving, so we wanted to bring it to you to possibly not have that meeting as well.
You're going to be out of town and you.
I will be out of town. I'm one of them that will be out of town. And I know a lot of these gentlemen, like go hunting and stuff, so, and a lot of people go to the woods.
So there's no meeting, no more meetings at all this month yet?
That's right. Everybody consensus on that? And we kind of notified staff that if they had anything, they needed to put it on this meeting, because the next one would be in December. So I think they're okay with it too.
What date in December?
December 6th. So we got a 5 o'clock on December 6th and a 6 o'clock on December 6th. Okay, so we have consensus on no meeting. Do we want to vote? I think we need to vote. Let's have a motion to cancel the second meeting of December.
November. I move
Of
that we
November, sorry.
cancel the second meeting of November.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, Mr. Mills?
Steven's on here again. You ready, Steven?
Can you hear me okay?
No, it's not going through like it should. Give me a second. Try it again.
You got something we need to do?
Hang on just a second. We're trying to get you. Go ahead.
You got him, read his text, one of the two.
Okay.
Or tell him, tell you and you tell us.
He's trying. He says, try it again, Steven.
Yeah, can you hear me? If not, I texted Terry.
I can hear you, so go ahead. I'll relay it.
Okay, so I have to have a budget amendment done before month end.
He has to have a budget amendment done before month end.
A budget amendment for last year?
For the airport, yeah. The airport exceeded the fuel purchases.
The airport exceeded the fuel purchases. So he has to have a budget amendment.
And that's for last year, not this year.
For last year's budget, but he has to do it by the end of the month.
It has to be done 60 days by year end. We usually do it this month.
Has to be done 60 days from year end.
I sent
Fiscal
it to
year.
Terry.
Okay.
Terry, is there a way we can print it out, put it in front of the council tonight?
You could call, I would not put it in front of the council tonight. It has not been noticed appropriately.
We can't do it.
I just heard that as a question.
Wow, what a good year.
Yeah, that is good hearing.
What I would suggest, so that you do not have to have a meeting 2 days before Thanksgiving, would be to call a special meeting on a different day.
Or whenever it is available, and just for that
Whenever
one
all
subject.
of you are available for that one topic.
Well, I won't be available at all.
Mrs. Wright, could you take the responsibility of polling the various members of the council and try to come up with a date for a special meeting?
When Mr. Boynton is ready.
Correct.
At least 3 of you.
The amendment's
Yeah, it has to
ready,
be
so-
3 of you. So it's probably gonna have to be the week before. Probably gonna have to be next week. The amendment is ready now. Then why don't we have it on our agenda? I know it has to be noticed, but I don't know why it's not. Okay, so if y'all wanna look at your calendars and see when you wanna have a special meeting, I won't be here.
Since we only need a 24-hour notice, the 10th. Because we're gonna be discussing about if there's gonna be a tropical storm, whether or not we're gonna.
I could do it on the 10th, if it's. Are 3 of us available on Thursday?
That's when
We
the
are
storm
doing
is
a,
supposed to be
we're doing a
here.
meeting tomorrow as
Some
well.
storm's coming.
I don't think we don't have 24 hours from.
No, the 10th, tomorrow's the 9th.
Very true. Very true.
You guys do that lunch.
Thursday at,
What time can you be here? You're the one that's working.
I can just work it from home. It's gonna be quick, I can do it between 12 and 2.
We don't drive our phone.
Let's do it at 1 o'clock. Can we do it at 1 o'clock? It'll probably take 15 minutes.
is everybody good? 1 o'clock?
Yes, sir. Can't be here then?
How many of you can? You can be here. You can be here.
I can be here.
You
So
can
we
be
do
here.
have a quorum.
If it, I'm
My
leaving
boss is
I'm
out
leaving
of
on
town.
Saturday, I can be here on Thursday.
So,
Okay,
Thursday at.
Thursday at 1 o'clock. But Mr. Bloom's gotta get it to us so we can read it, whatever it is.
And Mrs. Wright, I do not have anything to write. You will be notifying us in email, correct?
Correct.
1 PM, correct?
Yes.
Don't play, right? Okay, so, thank you for that, Stephen. We would have not known that if you had not been online. We would have been in big trouble. Okay, anything else? We still need a motion to cancel that meeting. I never got a motion to cancel. Okay, and we voted already? Sorry. So now let's vote. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Oh, thank you. I had put my check mark there, so I missed the whole thing. Okay. Item I, discussion with possible action, making the interim city manager the permanent city manager. Okay, I asked Mr. Interim City Manager Brevard to give you his resume, which he has given you all tonight. We have also been talking, he and I, about coming to you and asking you if you're ready to take this step. And if you are, we're going to start looking at previous contracts of other city managers and come up with one that he likes that we can bring to you. So I don't really want to take any action. I just want to know if we have consensus to move forward.
Yes.
And you're certain this is what you want to do? What are we gonna do with your vacant position that we've been holding?
Yeah, let me first by saying that it's been an absolute pleasure to be over here and working with the staff, and I don't mean that just to be kind. They are truly some of the best staff I've been with. The police department has a great staff too, and I'm not trying to rain on their parade, but certainly they have made my life easy over here. It has been a joy and a pleasure to be here, and yes, I'm fine with moving forward with the decision to make it permanent. You know, you can poll them and see what they think, and they don't pull any punches on me, and you know, we have some very candid conversations, and so far I've been very happy.
So what does the rest of the employees think?
I'm sorry to say, I have heard from them and they're all ready to go for it.
I've asked, but I just want to be sure.
I know most of us are no longer calling him the interim city manager.
I have not for a while.
Yeah, and when I introduce him, I don't put the interim in front of it. So I think it's time to make it official. And all that means is, consider the resume that he gave you tonight, and we will bring you back a proposed contract that you can play with if you don't like certain aspects of it. Yeah, that's true, and budget. Is everybody okay that we proceed? Yes. Yes. Either a car allowance or, I think we need to buy him a car. But we'll figure that out when we get there. I know the police department needs their car back.
We already got it.
They already got it.
Oh, they already got it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
gave.
He's got one.
We gave him a car.
I do have the Impala that the chief got from Sumter County, and you know, publicly would like to thank, obviously, the Sumter County Sheriff's Office for giving us that
Absolutely.
vehicle. You know, so that will work, and
I said it doesn't look like the city manager to me. When I look at it.
Well, we got a
gold.
gold Grand Marquis we can give you.
no, that
I
one
need
definitely does
something
not.
swanky for my city manager.
Our city manager needs to be in a limousine.
The last
Well-
city manager vehicle that we purchased was a bright red Ford Explorer.
Oh, he'll take that. He'll take that Impala.
No, he can
Over
pick
that
out what he
40,
wants.
out of that
I think we need to come up with a budget. That's a totally different issue with whether or not we make him, either that or it could be car allowance. He could go out and buy his own car. We'll pay him a car allowance. That'll be part of the contract.
I think we should do a golf cart network.
Golf cart.
Golf cart.
Yeah, golf cart.
Okay, we haven't passed that ordinance yet. How I'm still waiting on it.
So but I would like to thank the council for providing me with the opportunity to do this. I would like to thank each of y'all for coming in and speaking to me, whenever you can. It's been a pleasure. I would like to think that, my presence here has hopefully made a difference. And,
I can tell you I've gone from being here every day of the week to maybe a week or 10 days might go by. It's really nice. Y'all call me when you need me, and I come when I need to. But it's better than having to come every day when somebody desperately needed to express themselves.
I say we move forward.
Yes, sir. If we have consensus on that, we will bring back something to you.
I like to not be called. Would,
Ms. Latricia.
for the next agenda, would you like me to put on their discussion or?
Discussion with possible action, we're gonna bring you a contract.
Okay.
so I would say before the contract, until the contract is signed, and there's a resolution that goes with that contract.
Yes.
And until the resolution is read, is that we obviously still maintain the position as the deputy chief, until that's done. So, I'm sure we'll get it done in a timely fashion.
Well, that's up to him over there.
We've already discussed that.
Do what now? Wait a minute, Mayor, hold on.
I started saying the deputy chief has nothing to do with it.
I can't hear what you said, Mayor.
We would not try to fill, as we discussed, the deputy chief until he is appointed city manager.
Correct.
If you decide to fill it at all. It's totally up to you, and that's up to you, not
We
to
had
us.
already discussed that.
Yeah, that's up to y'all, not to us. Okay, with consensus, we will proceed, and we will get that ready for you, at a meeting in December. All right, item J. Oh, sorry.
Do we have to advertise this?
I wouldn't think so.
Just thought I'd ask. Want to make sure that we do it so nobody comes.
If we have a deputy city manager, all right, Selena's not here. We'll ask Selena to make absolutely positive.
If so, yes.
I will talk with Selena and make
Please,
sure that
thank
we're
you
both
so
on the
much.
same page.
I mean, if we have to post it for 5 days, we will. And if we're promoting someone from within, I think we're okay, because that's an issue we had before. Yeah, promoting from within, I believe, is a totally different issue than bringing in a newcomer. But if we need, if y'all decide we need to post it for 5 days, we will certainly do that.
I'll get with Selena and we'll get on the same page and we'll
Thank
get
you
you
so
one
much.
unified.
Just let us know as soon as possible, because we'll start the otherwise. Item J is discussion with possible action, mayor's budget credit card. Mayor Charles Goodman.
Thank you, President Jones. I have a statement that I would like to read to members of the City Council and the citizens of Williston, Florida. I find it necessary to bring to light certain events so that everyone can make their own assessments of activities that I, as the mayor, have been engaged in. Early this year, before I was elected, I became aware of a nonprofit Williston Community Animal Shelter that had been working for 4 years toward building an animal shelter that would be given to the city of Williston. When complete, the sole purpose of this organization was to build the city's animal shelter, because it does not currently have one, and the city of Williston has contributed over $75,000 to that nonprofit organization. Along with city resources such as a generator, diesel to run it, that has been estimated by city staff to be about an additional $50,000. After it is built, the city of Williston will own and operate the shelter. I made the decision to join the board because I thought the effort worthwhile. At that time, the nonprofit had a contract with a contractor, and I thought I would get involved as someone who, as a building contractor myself, had some experience in the field. That contract was not completed, however, and the contractor withdrew. I was asked by the WCAS board to help with getting the shelter built. I contacted several other contractors, all who were going to charge roughly $100,000 or more for their cost on building the structure. I knew at that point that adding that cost would make it impossible with the money that was available to complete that project, and that frankly it just would not get built. I spoke with a young contractor who I had helped to get his license years ago and asked if he could help. His answer that he would be the contractor of record for a flat $35,000 fee, only if I would volunteer unpaid to be the on-site supervisor and personally guarantee that all bills would be properly paid. I agreed to this arrangement, and then construction began. Being a carpenter, I have done much of the work personally. I've used my own trucks and trailers to pick up and deliver materials and my own tools in the construction process. In March, I was elected to the office of Mayor of Williston. After assuming office, the city clerk came to me and gave me a credit card. There were no instructions as to the use of the card, but when asked, I was told that the limit was $7,000. I was shocked because I'd been on the Williston City Council for over 8 years, and I'd never received a credit card. I continue to work on the shelter, still doing much of the work myself, with the help of occasional volunteers. I believe that this was saving money for the city because WCAS had a limited amount of funds, and after construction costs skyrocketed, I was afraid that anything not finished would have to be paid for by the city. For months, WCAS offered to compensate me for the large amount of money that I was needing to spend on the shelter out of my own pocket for gas. But I was trying my best to stretch their budget, so I declined. After receiving the mayor's credit card with no instructions, I looked at the charter and read that the mayor will be compensated for all of his expenses, which I thought would include reimbursing personal funds spent on building the animal shelter for the city. That is not covered under the charter. So I saw it as an engagement in helping this project to be completed. For the next few months, I used the mayor's credit card to purchase gas and use it exclusively for the many miles I had to use my personal vehicle to purchase and pick up materials for the shelter. I took receipts for this gas to the city clerk, and frankly, she was surprised, saying it was out of the ordinary. I explained to her exactly what I was doing and offered to show her receipts for gas purchases for my personal use to show that I was not using city money for personal use. A short while later, I received a visit from the previous city manager, Miss Jackie Gorman, about the same thing. I again explained exactly what I was doing, and her response to me and to the clerk was that she would have to create a new line item for the mayor. At that point, I thought the matter was settled. Then I contracted COVID at a city meeting, as did several other people. Because of my exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, I knew that there was a possibility that I just might not survive that illness. I went into isolation, hoping to spare my wife, but to no avail. I gave it to her. While recovering from COVID, I received a text message from a council member telling me that I could not use the mayor's credit card for personal gas. And I was astounded. Because I was very sick, my response was anger. After recovering and returning to my duties, the same council member again demanded that I return the money to the city. I pointed out that one council member cannot make demands of the mayor. The entire council would have to do that. I made plans to bring the matter before the entire council to decide if I needed to return the gas money. If I paid the money back to the city, then WCAS Board of Directors would reimburse me for my expenses. So there was nothing to be lost or gained by me, personally. I was asked to meet with the city attorney and I complied. The attorney asked me to withdraw the item from the agenda while they worked on a solution, and I agreed reluctantly. Because my experience is that this type of thing needs to be thoroughly exposed to the public and the city council. To my knowledge, the city attorney never came back with an opinion. I ultimately decided to give the money back to the city and let WCAS pay me for my gas expenses, which they willingly did. At that time, I also gave the city clerk back the credit card, which was given to me as the mayor because there was no guidelines for its use, and it was not clear to me that the purpose of the card was for. I was advised to let the matter drop, as it was resolved by my returning the money to the city. I felt, and I still feel, that everything I did was in the best interest of the city. As I can get volunteers and reduce prices from vendors because we're nonprofit doing good work. My view is that for every dollar the nonprofit cannot use when they run out of money, the city will probably have to pay about $10 in cost, as nobody volunteers for municipality to work for free. I knew, however, that the matter would not go away. I have been attacked and slandered 4 times by persons claiming that I inappropriately spent city money and even stole city money. To those persons and to the public, I categorically deny the accusations, and I feel that the citizens and the city council should have the entire story, and that is why I am making this public statement. Respectfully submitted, Charles Goodman, Mayor of Williston. I'm done.
I don't know that we need to make an awful lot of comment. I will just say that I have given each of you, I was the council member who requested the money be returned. I'm pretty sure you probably figured that out. I thought it was my place as a council member to watch out for the money that belongs to the city and thereby the taxpayers of the city of Williston. I also had COVID. Right about the same time, and it got delayed, or it wouldn't have lasted as many months as it lasted. I have given you the letter that I gave to the mayor in August, on August 1st, to be exact, telling him what I thought about it and what I felt like he needed to do. I was also in attendance with him when he met with the attorney. I just feel like it was inappropriate for him to use the card for purchases for gas that had anything to do with the animal shelter that were not city related, because we do not currently own the animal shelter yet. I guess I've given you what I gave him, because if you feel any different than that, and that's pretty much what we told him in the meeting with the attorney, was that if he felt like, and that's what Ms. Gorman also told him, that he could bring it to y'all and tell and ask if he could do it. And if you gave him permission, that extra line item would be needed to add it to the budget. As you know, and or may not know, in the budget, the city council and the mayor are together in the administration budget. We're under the budget together. And that's how I noticed that our budget was gone. The money was being depleted, and I knew we hadn't spent it. And that's when I learned from the city clerk that there were credit card expenses. And the first month, we just looked at them. We looked down the next month, and there were more. And then that's when I got sick. By the time it came around again, he was sick. And it's just the timing of it all. But it has nothing to do with being sick or not being sick. It's protecting the city's funds. And as I said, I've given you the letter that I gave him on August 1st. And if you have any comment, fine. If not, we're going to leave it there tonight.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do we have rules on credit card use?
As I explained in my letter, which you probably haven't had time to read yet, there is a travel and mileage form. I don't know that he was given the form at the time he was given the credit card, but this form is where you put your expenses.
Correct.
If he had, and I use that word over and over in this letter, if he had bona fide expenses or fuel, he would be reimbursed for it. And he would, and mileage, at the mileage rate.
But not both.
Not both, no.
Because any company.
It's never a credit card receipt.
Any company
It's
I've worked for.
IRS
it's
rate.
been mileage.
That's right, and that's what this form says. But like I said, I'm not sure that he ever got this form. But when I sent him the letter, I was trying to explain to him that this was it. This is how it's done. And even for meals, when we go away, there's a per diem that we pay for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that goes for all of our employees, not just for this council. We can go buy a $65 dinner, but it says on here that for dinner you get $29. So the rest of it's on us. What you get reimbursed is $29. Yeah, I know we need to raise that. That was the first comment I made. But like I said, unless you have questions or comments, I'm going to leave it right there. I would entertain a motion for adjournment. If we have no comments. I see a light.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, right. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will adjourn at 9:25.